This is 5 in 10 from Skywatch TV for Tuesday, August 2nd, 2023. I'm Derek Gilbert. Topic number 5 today, gaslighting America. You might remember in December of 2019, nearly a year before we got word of Hunter Biden's laptop, the New York Post getting deplatformed from social media for daring to break that story just before the election. Joe Biden, campaigning in Iowa, called a voter a bleep liar and fat for raising a question about Hunter Biden's business dealings in Ukraine. Well, fast forward to today. Not quite 4 years later, Hunter Biden's former business partner, Devon Archer, testifying to Congress and spilling the beans about Hunter Biden's relations with overseas investors, specifically Burisma, the big Ukrainian natural gas company that put Hunter on the board of directors, even though Hunter didn't speak Ukrainian and had no experience in the energy business. Well, on Monday this week, the Daily Mail in the UK, which does more investigative journalism here in the United States than any of the corporate media outlets here in the U.S., Daily Mail revealed that Hunter Biden's real estate firm received a $40 million investment from a Russian oligarch, Yelena Baturina, the billionaire widow of the former mayor of Moscow. Baturina also wired $3.5 million to a Hunter-linked company in what her brother Viktor Baturin tells the Daily Mail was a payment to enter the American market, end quote. Now, bear in mind, this took place in 2014 when Joe Biden was the vice president of the United States. In 2016, Baturina established a U.S. office to oversee her investments here, and in 2016 invested $10 million in commercial real estate near the Barclays Center in Brooklyn, New York. The payments were flagged in suspicious activity reports by the U.S. Treasury Department, but nothing came of that. Now we find from Devon Archer that Joe Biden met with Ms. Baturina in Georgetown, Washington, D.C., before the $40 million investment, after which she was, not coincidentally, left off the list of sanctions by the Obama administration, sanctioning Russian oligarchs, but not Baturina. Quid pro Joe. What's really funny about this is the way the corporate media is now twisting itself into knots to pretend that this has been going on along. We've known this all along. The New York Times on Monday actually published this as the lead of a story. It has long since been known that the elder Mr. Biden at times interacted with his son's business partners. Oh, really? Because this is like 180 degrees different from what has been reported by the corporate media up until about 15 minutes ago. This is a very old pattern. Stage one, it's not happening. It's not happening. Nothing to see here. Joe Biden didn't know anything about his son's business dealings. Shut up. You should be deplatformed for even bringing that subject up. Stage two. Okay, yeah, maybe it happened once or twice, but Joe didn't really know who he was talking to. It's no big deal, and you're a conspiracy theorist for even bringing this subject up. And now we're at stage 3, apparently, as evidenced by the New York Times article. Everyone knows it happened. It's no big deal. Get your popcorn. This is really getting entertaining. And remember, when you see this and get really frustrated, Psalm 2, he who sits in the heavens laughs, he holds them in derision. They think they're winning. Topic number 4, Ukraine. Very influential military analyst by the name of Edward Luttwak, who's advised multinational corporations and political leaders, including presidents of the United States since the 1980s, is now arguing that we should end the war in Ukraine. He published an op-ed piece at the website Unheard, that's H-E-R-D, Unheard, last week. Luttwak believes that despite all the talk in Western capitals, including Washington, D.C., about fighting Russia as long as it takes, which sadly and tragically really means to the last Ukrainian, that we should wrap this up. Negotiate a settlement right now. The Ukrainian counteroffensive has stalled, Luttwak writes. Russia's government survived a scare by the Wagner Group, and its troops are fighting better now than they did in the early days of the war, which is why the Ukrainians are not regaining the territory lost in the early stages of the war. Top U.S. officials like CIA Director William Burns recognize this fact and been advising the White House accordingly, although it's not clear that the message is getting through. Possible. I mean, President Biden did seem kind of cool to the idea of allowing Ukraine into NATO right away, which would then obligate under Article 5 everyone else in NATO to go to war with Russia, which might, by the way, be why Ukraine is now sending drone attacks at Moscow, trying to drag the Western world into a wider conflict. Ukraine is getting desperate. Anyway, Putin, Latwak noted, is also publicly pulling back from his nuclear threat in a signal to the West that perhaps a negotiated solution is possible. And besides, as Latwak notes, a bigger threat is rising in the East. And that leads to topic number 3, the dragon. China has replaced 2 leaders of its elite unit managing its nuclear arsenal. This is triggering speculation of a purge there. General Li Yuchao, who headed the People's Liberations Army Rocket Force unit, and his deputy had disappeared for some months. Former Deputy Navy Chief Wang Hubin and Party Central Committee member Xu Shisheng were named as their replacements. This is the biggest unplanned shakeup in Beijing's military leadership in about 10 years. Why would this be happening now? The possibility is that this precedes a military operation. It's worth noting that President Xi recently ordered Communist Party officials across the country to rapidly increase the supply of arable land, farmland, by any means possible. Now, why would they do that? Well, it's because China produces enough food to feed its population, but it depends on imports from Argentina, Canada, Brazil, and the United States to feed its cattle, pigs, ducks, and chicken. It can feed the people, but it can't feed its livestock. And if war breaks out, those supplies from Western nations likely to be cut off. So China has reversed its reforestation program to increase the amount of farmland, land needed to produce the food it needs to feed its livestock in the event that it goes to war and can no longer depend on grain from the United States and Canada. We also note that a mysterious investment company is buying up land around Travis Air Force Base in California. Now, the company's called Flannery Associates, which sounds pretty Western, but attempts by officials in California to find out who's behind Flannery Associates, no luck so far. Flannery Associates has spent about $800 million to buy farmland around Travis Air Force Base. This is midway between Sacramento and San Francisco. The property includes a tract that runs right up to the edge of the air base, and it is known that Chinese investors have been buying up land around other military bases here in the United States. Why would we allow this? Makes no sense to me. We also note that Travis Air Force Base is an air support center where more cargo and passenger traffic is funneled through that particular airport than any other military air terminal in the United States. In other words, it might be a really useful staging point if the United States suddenly found itself needing to send a lot of men and materiel west, like, say, to defend Taiwan. Topic number 2, the box barometer. Kind of an odd economic barometer, but one that is, I think, accurate. Earlier this month, Packaging Corporation of America reported that cardboard box sales dropped 9.8% in the second quarter, which ranks as one of the biggest drops on record when you combine it with the 12.7% drop in box sales in the first quarter. What does this have to do with the economy? We're buying a lot of stuff online. When you buy stuff online, they have to ship it in boxes. One of my customers, when I sold steel in Southern Illinois from 2011 to 2015, made machinery that made cardboard boxes. And they were blowing and going. Big business back then. But suddenly the number of boxes dropping, or demand for boxes is dropping. And that means everything from raw materials to final products, we're just not shipping as much. And it does not appear that box sales are going to bounce back anytime soon. Here's the other reason we look at this. It's because cardboard box sales, the box barometer, if you will, not subject to government tinkering like the rate of inflation and unemployment numbers. Coming up, divorcing the demon. Details next on 5 and 10.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, we want to make sure you know how you can get your copy of this incredible new book in the John Clash special offer. When you order the John Clash special offer, you'll receive his brand new book, The Law of Attraction, a gateway drug to spiritual heroin. This phenomenal new work challenges the very validity of the dangerous Luciferian, heavily popularized ideology that false teachers and gurus describe as the law of attraction. In this book, John also uses a solid biblical framework to debunk the so-called scientific selling points that the law of attraction is predicated on. But that's not all. You'll also receive the amazing DVD Beyond Supernatural that features off-the-record interviews with popular former New Age author and speaker Stephen Bancars, where he details his long history and involvement with the New Age and shares his personal testimony of deliverance through Jesus Christ. And as a bonus, this DVD also includes the entire original Skywatch TV 5-part series on the second coming of the New Age. Also included in this must-have special offer, the 2-part DVD, Occultianity, how the End Times Church is forming now in preparation of Antichrist, where Donna Howell and Allie Anderson walk you step by step through how a silent, complacent church is inadvertently laying the foundation for the bloodiest cult that the world has ever seen. All of these items hold a retail value of $75, yours now for your donation of only $35 plus shipping and handling, so don't delay. You can scan the QR code on your screen using the camera app on your phone for instant access to this special offer. You can also visit us at skywatchtvstore.com or call 1-844-750-4985 and ask for the John Clash special offer right now.
Item number 1 today, don't do this at home. A singer in the UK who focuses on very dark music, I would say occultic, just based on my brief look at her website earlier today, has announced that she is divorcing the ghost that she married last year. November 2022, singer Brocard made headlines by marrying what she said was a Victorian soldier named Eduardo. The Victorian era ended more than a century ago, so this guy long dead. Don't believe it was actually Eduardo. There's no evidence in the Bible that human spirits return. One exception when Samuel came up out of the pit, but that surprised the medium of Endor. She wasn't expecting him. Anyway, Brocard claims she married a ghost, did it with a ceremony and everything, but things didn't last long. Marital bliss ended within a few months when her paranormal paramour began staying out all night, apparently having an affair with the ghost of Marilyn Monroe. So they did what you might have guessed. Brocard and Eduardo visited a medium for supernatural marital counseling. That didn't work, and in the end, it was the desire for children. Brocard wanted kids. Eduardo not happy about that, and according to Brocard, Eduardo began tormenting her with the cries of a screaming baby that kept her awake all night. According to Brocard, and I quote, "He got unbearably intense and started haunting me with a screaming baby. After I told him I didn't want his children." Actually, I get that reversed. She didn't want the kids. I guess he did. That's when she decided to divorce him with an exorcism, which sounds like it might have been legit. She described it as, and I quote, "harrowing and haunting as I lost control of all my limbs, with every part of my body shaking and sweating. It also gave me a bout of Tourette's and a craving for raw lemons." Don't know about that last part, but this brings us to the final point today. What have we learned here, ladies and gentlemen? Do not consort with demons. Our Lord told this to Moses about 3,400 years ago. That advice still good to this day. Skywatch TV this week talking about a doctrine of demons that is working its way into the church called the law of attraction. What is it and why should you be on guard for it? How does it manifest? How is it presented to us in our churches today? John Clash, authored the new book, Law of Attraction, is the guest with Joe Horn and the Skywatch investigative team. You can find our broadcast schedule for the over-the-air program at skywatchtv.com/channels, but you can watch that very same program right now at the website, skywatchtv.com, on our Roku or Apple TV channels, if you've got the Skywatch TV app for your set-top box. You can also go to our YouTube or Rumble channels, the address is right here, or better yet, download our free app to your mobile device, smartphone or tablet. It gets you all of our video content, news updates, calendar of upcoming events, and more right in the palm of your hand, whether it's iOS, Android, or Amazon Kindle Fire. We've got links to their app stores at our website, skywatchtv.com. Thank you for watching as we keep watch. I'm Derek Gilbert, and this is 5 in 10 from Skywatch TV.